I was at an event and they said, hey, before our next presenter gets up, let's go ahead and turn off the cameras. People that I looked up to weren't uniquely skilled. They were just willing to commit fraud. I'm going to show you how to not follow in their footsteps. Most real estate investors and agents look for a community to join in order to learn what's working and what's not, with the hopes of scaling their business. These groups are like what we run in CCF, known as mastermind groups. And I'm going to walk you through 4 strategies that I've heard shared behind closed doors that were absolutely shocking. You're at a high-end steakhouse with people that you look up to, that you think are more successful than you. Somebody at the table mentions they've got a hookup where they can save you 80% off your postage. If you're somebody like me who does hundreds of thousands of dollars of marketing a year, you start to do the math, and that sounds very appealing. USPS right now is charging 78 cents for a first-class stamp. This gentleman you've just met, that everybody else swears by, tells you they're getting postage at only 14 cents a stamp. You paid thousands or tens of thousands of dollars to be at this table, so this just sounds like insider advice, not like anything sketchy, right? If I told you that I had a hookup for designer handbags at 80% off below list, would you expect them to be real? There was a group that just got caught doing this specifically in the real estate space for real estate investors. If you were one of the folks that had bought stamps from one of these guys, like some close friends of mine, zero shame or judgment. You were told from somebody you knew, liked, trust, or even looked up to that this was on the up and up. And to be blunt, I'm going to throw up some pictures of these. They look darn good too, even like USPS on them with a manufacturing date of 2024. The problem though is this is probably millions of dollars of lost revenue for USPS that they're going to then go and recover against everybody doing things the right way. It's possible that someone's grandma had some stamps left over from Christmas in a drawer from back in like 2007 when first class stamps were 41 cents. But the likelihood that somebody can sell those to you in bulk, thousands of them, and they're only going to want 15 or 20 cents a stamp is very unlikely. If you literally just Google, I think it's Shine, it's like the Chinese factory knockoff website, USPS first class stamps, you can buy a coil of 100 for $9. USPS has put out several notices lately about the rise of counterfeit stamps, and they've even released a new portal where you can turn somebody in that you think is using them. This is a federal crime. It's a felony. Not to mention, there is likely a paper trail that points back to your business. It's got your return mail address, your logo, your name, your phone numbers on it. USPS has a way to like blacklight test stamps. This is something they're actively going after. The risk is not worth the savings. In my opinion, this is something I've never done and wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. Maybe you're following somebody on Instagram and they're doing bigger deals than what you're doing. I just got tagged in a story this past week from somebody that talked about how he was retrading on sellers to get bigger spreads when he'd already found a buyer. I've heard of this taught in other mastermind groups where somebody is teaching people that it is easier to retrade on sellers they're already working with than do more deals. The thought process being like, get as much as you can from these people, like they're not human beings on the other end that we've made commitments to. The strategy typically looks like this. You go under contract pending an inspection. You take 2 to 3 weeks to get that inspection done. In the meantime, you find somebody else to wholesale that property to where you're already turning a profit. You go back to the seller after they're counting on this thing closing and you've wasted weeks of their time and push for a deeper discount without there really being a reason to do so. This is just bottom of the barrel behavior. When we go under contract to purchase a property, typically there's no inspection. It's just for information only, or we've set a specific dollar amount we'll need to retrade by if a specific condition is met, such as a failed septic system or issues with a main sewer line. I'm not out here locking deals up trying to find somebody to buy it. And if I can't find somebody to wholesale it, you retrading it down into the ground to be able to just turn a profit. We recently had somebody try this on a place that I had listed. They went under contract with a information only inspection stating they just wanted to look at the sewer system. They didn't have the sewer system scoped, but after about 2.5 weeks came back and said, hey, the property overall is actually in worse shape than we thought, even though they'd walked it multiple times, and they wanted to lower the price by $15,000. We politely told them where they could stick their retrade offer, told everybody in the market we knew about who they were, what they did, and what their nice little tactic was, went back to market and sold it to a different buyer. The last strategy I'm going to share is the most wild American greed-esque thing I've ever heard of. I got a call from somebody in a group I'm in that they knew of a real estate business that was going bankrupt that had some unique assets they wanted to sell. The unique asset that they had to sell were memorandum of interests or memorandum of contracts on titles that they'd clouded all across the South. If you're not familiar with what a memo is, it's effectively a recorded notice that the seller went under contract with you and you have a legally binding purchase and sale agreement. The problem though was it was more of a business model and less deals that just didn't close. The appropriate use for a memorandum of contract is you go under contract on a property, you put down earnest money, so it's a legally binding deal, you open escrow, and if the seller refuses to close or ghosts you or somebody else is trying to sneak the deal, you cloud title so that the dollars you've put forward are protected. How I'm hearing about these used though is they'll agree to whatever asking price a seller has in mind in order to get a memorandum of contract out to cloud title so that way somebody has to pay them to go away later. They had no ability to buy the property at that price point. They had zero intention of closing. It's literally just fraudulently clouding title or holding deeds hostage. The only time you should have a memorandum or a lis pendens, something clouding title out on a property is if you put down EMD, you tried to close, you were ready, willing, and able, and the seller just refused or ghosted you. If you cloud title and don't put down EMD or don't close, you're the one that pulls out of the deal, you are fraudulently clouding title. This last one is the wildest thing I've ever heard, and it's taken me 5 or 6 years to put this out there. I was at an event and they said, hey, before our next presenter gets up, let's go ahead and turn off the cameras. Young Ryan is in a dusty hotel ballroom surrounded by people I look up to, eyes wide open at everything I'm learning about real estate investing and how to turn profits in this industry. And a speaker gets up with the promise of he's going to walk you through how he makes over $100,000 on every project he touches. And I am all ears, because back then my average profit on a deal was $15K. So how do I 10x my return? And that's where the fraud comes in. So this gentleman's whole business model had to do with going after places that were in distress, often in pre-foreclosure, and fixing a short sale. So typically when a property is going to get short saled, it has to be listed on the MLS, and the bank wants basically bids to come in to see, hey, what should this thing be worth? So this gentleman's method was to have a third party he controlled handle the listing, leave the phone off the hook in the office so that no calls could come in. Much to the bank's disappointment, they only get one offer that comes in from this gentleman, and it's substantially below how much debt is out on the property. Now, when a bank gets an offer like this, they're going to inspect the property to see what kind of condition it's in. They might be better off just foreclosing on it and going and buying it back at the auction. So bro introduces this concept he calls staging the house. He sends the family to Disney for the week, all expenses paid. Hey, the bank's going to want to come check out the house. It's super annoying. You're going to be in their way. Not only am I going to buy your house at this price we talked about, you're going to get some money out of the deal, but I'm also going to send you to Disney on my dime. He then sends in his crew while the family's at Disney to stage the house, which consists of basically disassembling it in the least damaging way possible. They're going to take cabinets off the walls, remove appliances, remove toilets, take like literally switches out of the wall and cap the ends so the wires are just sticking out. So when the bank goes to look at the house, it's a complete disaster. Unbeknownst to them, the insides are just in a U-Haul around the corner. I'm sitting there looking at friends next to me like, this is fraud. Real, actual dollars in damages at the bank. Like calculable losses from this one gentleman in the multi-seven figures across his career. There's not a way this doesn't end up on American Greed. Anytime you're in an industry where a lot of money can be made in a relatively short amount of time or across a few transactions, there are going to be bad actors. Oftentimes, bad actors might be well-known personalities or even folks you look up to on social media. Take like PPP loan fraud, for instance. PPP loans were back in 2020, and it's just in 2024, 2025, we're seeing people start to get busted for this kind of stuff. I think similarly, we're going to see a trend of some of these strategies that I've shared come to light, or people getting caught or getting in trouble with them. People often think they've gotten away with something, but the reality is the consequences have just been delayed. At our offices, we do our absolute best to run a blameless business. Try to do everything we can by the book, to the letter of the law. The way I kind of view it is, can I explain something that I was doing or something that I did in a court of law without it sounding wild? It's one of the reasons we don't do novations. I can't explain, yeah, this was in the best interest of this little old lady. No, what would have been in the best interest would have been me listing her house on the market and her getting to keep all of her equity. There's not a way that plays out in court where I sound like the good guy. You might have in the past gotten an unbelievably good deal on stamps, or had a memo you forgot to remove that you got paid out for. My heart with this video is not shame, but it really is a call to, now that we know better, let's do better and operate differently moving forward. Thank you guys for taking the time to hang out with me. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. I've shared this before, but early on in my career, there were guys I looked up to that it seemed like got a lot of money really fast. Private jets and designer bags and Lamborghini Aventadors. And I'm sitting there wondering, like, what am I doing wrong? Turns out I was doing things right. If you guys haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe. Again, my name is Ryan Dossey. I'll talk to you guys next time.